Outside the Book continues from the Southern Kentucky Bookfest at the Carol Nicely Center in Bowling Green. We had Diana Gabaldon join us earlier. Now we are joined by Chloe Neill, author who writes about Chicagoland vampires. Chloe.
Good morning.
But you're a transplanted Southerner who writes about the Midwest. Explain that.
I am. You know, I'm not really sure how that came about. I grew up in Arkansas, eventually moved to Nebraska, where I've been for a while. I had visited Chicago in the early 90s and just kind of fell in love with it. And when I was thinking about where to place a supernatural series, Chicago has interesting history, interesting culture, people that some would argue are already kind of demons or supernatural creatures, so there was kind of a natural fit.
Now, vampires. Why write about vampires?
You know, when I first started writing this book, which is around 2006, vampires hadn't kind of reached the crest, the post-Twilight crest that they had yet. So it was still kind of a new and intriguing idea. But for me, I write about supernatural creatures because I don't want to think about the workaday world worries, you know, bills and going to a job. Writing about supernatural creatures lets you make up the rules on your own. And it puts this interesting new kind of drama that you have to face, where the stakes are very high, literally, since it's vampires.
No pun intended.
No pun very much intended.
Okay.
And they, you know, the stakes are just different and they matter, and it's the kind of thing that gives me an escape as a writer, and hopefully to readers an escape as well.
And you run the gamut on your characters. They're all shapes and sizes. They come from all different parts of that world. So you had to do some research in that world, or?
I did. I've actually, so there are vampires, there are shapeshifters, there are nymphs that rule the flow of the Chicago River, for example. There's a siren that lives in Lake Michigan. So I did a lot of mythological research, looking into the myths of vampires and these other creatures across the world, and then kind of pulling from it what I thought would be an interesting and kind of a new twist on those creatures.
Don't you know that there is a siren in there, and then the nymphs do affect them in the
Of course
water?
they do. You've
Yes.
seen it green for
Yes.
St.
St.
Patrick's
Patrick's
Day.
Day.
So obviously there is something going on there.
Now, shapeshifters, okay,
Yes.
gotta say, what a wonderful craft that would be to own,
Yeah,
right? How
absolutely.
much fun is that to write about?
It's a lot of fun. In my world, the shapeshifters operate in packs across the United States. Some are wolves, some are different creatures, but they have this kind of interesting earthiness and connection to the earth that's really interesting to write about. So I've made them lovers of kind of earthy, natural romance poetry because there's an affection for natural things that just seems to fit with them. So it's very different from these very kind of glamorous and chic vampires, and they bring a very different flavor to the series.
Do you believe that there are vampires in this world?
Metaphorically, absolutely. There certainly are people who I think take more energy from the world than they probably give back. But in terms of the paranormal, I'm not a big believer. There's a little part of me that would like to believe there's something different out there, but I'm too much of a scientist, I think, of mine to believe that that's really true.
Take us through your writing process, because I'm always intrigued. I
Sure.
really am by, just the very different ways in which authors, writers broach their subjects.
Sure. So I write 2 books a year pretty much, and each of these books is about 90,000 words. I will spend about 2.5 or 3 months writing, and then I'll work with my editor and spend about a month and a half, maybe 2 months more editing it. So what I will do typically is have a word count per day that I have to meet. First I'll do a synopsis for my editor, and then as I'm writing I'll have a word count per day that I'll have to meet. And you know, it's kind of like running a marathon. You can't run it all at once. You've got to pace yourself. You've got to do a little bit every day. And hope at the end that, you know, you're going to end up with a book. I've written 15. I'm about to, actually, I started my 16th yesterday in my seat at the book fair.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, you know, there's always that moment of panic about halfway through where I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it, even 15 books in. So I try to remind myself that I've done this before. I'll be able to finish it. It's just a matter of, you know, staying calm throughout the process and letting it happen a little bit at a time.
Pacing.
Exactly.
Is there some, you said you started writing it yesterday, is there some inspiration? Does something hit you and you say, okay, this is going to be a big part of the book?
Absolutely, and I don't remember if I was on the plane yesterday, or if I think I was on the drive from Nashville to Bowling Green, and I had an idea, and I actually had forgotten about it until I sat down I have a little mini laptop that I take when I travel, and had to make sure that I get it down or I will completely forget about it. So.
And we can look for number 16 when?
Number 16, well, actually, this will be number 12 in the Chicagoland Vampire series, which is what I'm writing right now. That will be out in March. And then I have also 3 young adult books in the Dark Elite series and a brand new series that starts in August called Devil's Isle, which takes place in New Orleans, an alternative New Orleans.
Ooh.
I'm very excited about it. I'm reading a really great book actually about voodoo culture right now. So the chance to research things like that is just fantastic.
Fantastic. Can you say overachiever or prolific?
I like to think of that. I hope Penguin is happy with what I've done so far, and that readers obviously are enjoying it.
Obviously are. Chloe Neill, thank you for sharing time with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
We've been talking with author Chloe Neill.